Well, I think that the main point of the HSHAZ is to be like a spark.
Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough has been a massive impact on Middlesbrough as a town. It's brought people from all different walks of life together. It has brought volunteers, people like artists, institutions, organisations. It's brought them all together, and it's just kind of coming together to celebrate the main thing that all brings us together, which is where we're from and our hometown.
When you think about say history is not just about writing. History is everything.
The area, especially the people in the area, really identify with where they're from. And if you ask anyone what's the best thing about Middlesbrough, they'll be like, well, we built the world, basically. This is our heritage, this is our steel, this is our culture, these are our people. We're the friendliest and best people in the world. That's all they'll say. And I think it's important that we get together when we celebrate it and we interact with each other and talk about it, and people can see how different people experience it and their viewpoints on it. And that's great.
I think every town, every place has its own, artists, and it's great to see those artists getting their work actually, out in the public so we can see who these people are.
I think what's been lovely to see happen is to see how some of those stories and some of the discussions and the discoveries have turned into reality.
You've got artists from completely different backgrounds. You've got artists that are in collage, you've got artists that are in painting, sculpture, installation. So having those different forms of art and those different outlooks on art, it really brings a different, unique approach to celebrating the history of Middlesbrough.
You can't get away from the fact that it is about people and buildings. And about the connection points between the two. So it might be a building that's still here in Middlesbrough or one that's gone, and that sense of the loss of that building. But it's only the loss of the structure of it, isn't it? Because we've still got the stories, we've still got the archives, and that still has its place in history. But then I suppose bringing it up to date, how do we think about that in today's terms? How do we kind of think about that and use that going forward?
I'm an artist who specialises in ceramics, but I also specialise in site-specific installation works, and most of my works tend to end up being participatory in nature because I feel that to interpret a heritage narrative and try to make that relevant to people today, the best way to get people to engage with that is to ask them to either take an action or make a choice or in some way be a part of the work. The work I made ended up being the ceramic blocks, and I tend to work in multiples and work in numbers that are important for the project. So for this case I made 365 porcelain commemorative ceramics to be able to represent a year's worth of time, both in the year's worth of time that I've spent on the residency, but more importantly that if they're all exchanged so that members of the public can give back to the communities in Middlesbrough, that'll represent a year of time given back. The opportunity arose to be able to house it in Commerce House in the Dome, which just seemed absolutely ideal, both in that it's a beautiful setting anyway, but with it having the sense of place of being on Exchange Square, but also a centre of commerce and a centre of exchanges in itself, felt really important to sort of speak about the work that we were going to place inside it. The response has been amazing. The people who've come up here have been so interested and invested in what's happening and wanting to know more, but more importantly, been completely willing to give up their times. They're feeling passionately about wanting to support things that are happening right on their doorstep. Has been fantastic, but it's not even just people who are local to Middlesbrough who've been willing to do this. We've had exchange students from Norway who are in the area for like 10 months and they've been willing to come and give days of their time to come and litter pick in Middlesbrough, which is amazing. So I couldn't have asked for a better response really. It's been really, really fantastic.
My name's Ian Giles and I'm an artist, and I was invited to come to Middlesbrough by Mima and Navigator North to unearth hidden histories of Middlesbrough. It's been really interesting to start to kind of peel away the layers and ask questions and be shown around the town as well and start to look for histories, I guess. I think that's kind of why I'm here. What I like to do is to try and see what histories aren't being told, because I'm particularly interested in queer histories, in LGBTQI+ histories, and often they're not immediately on the surface. For me, kind of experiencing art and making art, those two things get kind of smushed together because I'm making work with people, with the community, with people who live in Middlesbrough. We're building up what this final artwork will be together. So there's not, at the moment, it's not about focusing on what that outcome will be. It's kind of doing stuff together, doing stuff with the community, doing stuff with people here in Middlesbrough that will allow these hidden histories, these queer histories, parts of the Middlesbrough collection to come to life through us all sharing knowledge together. People in Middlesbrough talking to me and sharing little tidbits that they know, and then us all, I guess, gluing that together to make an artwork.
So as a part of Celebrating Hidden Middlesbrough, I received the Tunnel Gallery Commission for 2021, and in that commission I created an installation in the Tunnel Gallery which was inspired by a story that my granddad had told me about him waiting for his dad to get off the train back in like the 1950s, and waiting for his dad to get off the train he would dance in the shadows that the cast iron roof would make on the floor. And that story just really stuck with me, and it was something that I thought was really important to showcase to our generation and the older generation. And just having that memory of this roof that was there by William Peachey that now is no longer there due to World War II and air raids, it's something that I think our generation needs to see and needs to interact with, because it's such an important part of history that's overlooked. As well as that, I've been a part of staffing at the Masham. So in the Masham, people from all walks of life, literally people walking through town, will come in, they'll interact with the exhibitions that we have on display, which are usually historically connected, and they'll come in, they'll tell us stories about the chicken sandwiches at the Masham, they'll tell us stories about how they used to come here with their family, and bringing in the newer generation to speak to the older generation is just a lovely thing to look at and watch, and just to hear those stories play out. And it's so important for both sides to be able to interact that way.
People have been really interested, which is really nice. Not just in the sort of archival images, which are very nostalgic, and like people will share their stories of the buildings. Yeah, it's been really wonderful to hear those stories, and people have been really open to hearing the ideas behind the work that I've made, and kind of engaging with that concept of imagining what buildings could be, were, can be in the future. So many of the people that I've met who have been working on other projects associated with the HSHAZ. Everybody's been so supportive and friendly and willing to make more connections. I've learned so much, and I feel like I've got quite a solid foundation now to go on and make more work. I've got more research that I want to do, more people to talk to. Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm interested in the idea of radical nostalgia. So it's looking back to the past, but it's doing something radical with it. So it's looking at myths, community myths, in a different way. I mean, myths are there for a reason, and most people recognise some truth in a myth about their place, and in Middlesbrough in particular, it often clusters around iron and steel, even now. And yet there are small narratives and dialogues and anecdotes around that you don't really hear. It's all about, the town giants, the macho beginnings of Middlesbrough. Just the whole idea that it was entirely man-made, with the emphasis on man, really. And so my warriors for this commission were picking that apart, really, and thinking, the women of Middlesbrough I always think are particularly strong. The women now and the women I remember from when I was a kid. And I don't think there would be any different back in the day, in the early days. And so that was why I started looking for examples of warrior women that really helped build Middlesbrough. Otherwise, it just becomes a series of cliches, doesn't it, really? And so it is that hidden idea, and when I was commissioned for Hidden Middlesbrough, it just seemed like an ideal opportunity to explore something.
Arts Award is a set of nationally recognised qualifications through Trinity College London, supported by Arts Council England, and it's all about having a go at the arts, exploring the arts, the world of artists, and for the higher levels becoming arts leaders. So we really wanted children and young people in Middlesbrough to have that opportunity, and so earlier this year we worked with Brecon Hill Primary and we did a Discover in a Day with them, and their work is now on as part of the Art Weekender. And so we wanted this weekend to offer families, children and young people the chance to do Discover in a Day and getting the opportunity to be creative and to just use their imaginations, but there's stimulus there, there's a professional alongside them to support them to create that work, but it's their ideas that are coming through. And what I love about Arts Award is that it's the children and young people's voices that we hear through the arts log, so it's about their reflections and what they've really loved and learned along the way.
It was interesting because of the history.
We were learning about architecture, and then we went to Exchange Square and we saw a bunch of faces, and then we described them and gave them names.
We were making collages with Annie, an artist. I made a collage of a girl and she's like a queen, and I put different colours on there to make the shapes of her face and her hair.
Mine was like this unknown creature, where it had like a crown. Whatever colour or shape you use, it comes into art. With anything you put your mind to.
I've learned how to be an artist.
I've learned about the history of different buildings around here.
I've learned about the community.
I think some of the legacies of the Hidden Middlesbrough project are a massive strengthening of the sector as a whole, a great sense of collaboration. That's been a wonderful thing for me and my organisation at Teesside Archives to see the way that it's really fostered this new understanding between ourselves, between Historic England, between Navigator North, who's been leading the project.
It's been great to be leading on the programme, and as an artist-led organisation working with other organisations in Middlesbrough, we've learnt so much from delivering the programme and working with artists and working with partners that I think going forward, I think we're still processing probably kind of the impact that it'll have. I certainly don't think that as we get to the end of this current version of the work that it will stop. I think it will continue and it'll have ripples through the work that we do as an organisation and the artists that we work with and Middlesbrough generally.
This project will inevitably bring together the artistic community that we have here in Middlesbrough. It platforms new voices, new experiences, new artists, and really I see it as really putting Middlesbrough on the map even more.
I think Middlesbrough has definitely become a hotspot for art. It's become an extremely artistic town with the openings of different galleries, the openings of different projects and things like that. But Middlesbrough's just a town where people are so proud of what they've came from. And speaking from a person that has grew up with their granddad as like their forefront father figure in their life, he has brought me up with the knowing that I'm proud to be where I'm from and that Middlesbrough is a great place. It just has so much potential that people overlook. So I think these artistic people that are coming from that and creating this unique approach is because we're so proud of being from where we're from.
I think from the HSHAZ and the community engagement team, for me, I think they have done a fantastic job in preserving these beautiful buildings, these historic buildings, and bringing everybody together. So for me, I think that is key, showcasing how everybody wants to be proud of their heritage and proud of where they are.
I hope that the legacy is essentially that we've got a better conserved conservation area. This project can be a catalyst for the area to sort of thrive in the future.
What's really wonderful about the project is it's got children outside the classroom and they've looked up, they've noticed, they've learnt about some of the important, significant buildings in Middlesbrough. What we hope is that children then pass on this knowledge to their parents and their community so they become really enthusiastic about where they live. So the whole idea of learning about your significant buildings, stories about your area, is that you become attached to your place, you have a pride in where you live, and hopefully that filters from the children through to the wider community of Middlesbrough.
Hopefully it's helping them to have that interest in the history of Middlesbrough going forward, and some of them might pursue it more deeply, others might just be more aware of Middlesbrough and what's come before them, but also thinking about what it could be, and that's what's really exciting as well. What is Middlesbrough going to be going forward?